This is Shannon with Dogwood Crochet, and today I'm going to show you how to make this Christmas tree applique, which you can use as an ornament or you can string it on a garland. So to start out, you're going to need a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook and then some medium worsted weight yarn. I'm using Mary Maxim's Starlit Sparkle yarn. This is the color Emerald, and then just a little bit of brown yarn for the tree trunk. And then you will also need a yarn needle to weave in your ends. So we're going to start by making the Christmas tree applique. So we're going to make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 15. All right, so we just chained 15. Now we are going to half double crochet into the back bump of the third chain from the hook. So we're going to count over. The loop that's on our hook doesn't count, so we're going to count 1, 2, 3. We're going to find that third chain, and then we're going to find that back bump. So if you flip it over, this piece right here is that back bump. So we're going to place a half double crochet into that. And then we're going to half double crochet into each back bump of each remaining chain. All right, so we're coming up on the last chain here, just working a half double crochet into that back bump. And so that's the end of row 1. So we should have 13 stitches at the end of row 1. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn. And now we're going to be working into the back loops only. So if we're looking at the top of our stitch here, this here is the front loop, and this is the back loop. So if you see this V here, we're going to be placing our hook in the middle of that V and working into this back loop only. Usually we would work into the entire stitch, which would be with both of these loops, but we're just doing the back loop. So we're going to start out by doing a decrease. We're going to half double crochet 2 stitches together. So to do that, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the back loop only of this first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop of the next stitch and yarn over, pull up a loop. So now there's 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. So we just did a decrease. We went from 2 stitches here to now we have 1 stitch. And this is our chain here. So that was 1 decrease. And now we're going to half double crochet into the back loop only of the next 11 stitches until we have 2 stitches left at the end. So just normal half double crochet into the back loop only, all the way across until we have 2 stitches left. right, we have 3 left, so 1 more half double crochet. All right, so now we have 2 stitches left here, and we're going to do another half double crochet 2 together, or a decrease. So yarn over, insert our hook into the first back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, insert our hook into the next back loop, and yarn over, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. So at the end of row 2, we should have 11 stitches. So we went from 13 to 11, so we had 2 decreases at the beginning and at the end of the row. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn, and then we're going to do the same thing in terms of we're going to decrease between the back loops of the first 2 and decrease between the back loops of the last 2, and we're just going to work half double crochet into the back loops of the other stitches in the middle. So I'm doing my decrease, and then I'm going to do half double crochets in the back loop only until I have 2 stitches left in the row. Now we have 2 stitches left. We're going to do our decrease, and that's it. So now we should have 9 stitches. Chain 2 and turn, and then we just continue in this fashion until we have 1 stitch left, pretty much. So we're just decreasing by 2 stitches with each row. That's going to give us that diagonal shape of the Christmas tree. And you just work until you have 2 stitches left, and then do a decrease in the last 2. So now you can see we're starting to get that triangle or Christmas tree shape. And we just keep doing this until we have 1 stitch left. So I'm going to come back once we're closer to the top of the tree. Okay, so I just finished my 6th row. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 3 stitches at the end of row 6. And we're going to half double crochet all 3 stitches together. So let me start over. So we're going to yarn over, place our hook in the back loop only of the first stitch, pull up a loop, place our hook into the back loop only of the second stitch and pull up a loop. So we have 4 loops on the hook, and then we're going to place our hook into the back loop only of the third stitch and yarn over and pull up a loop. 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops. So now we're down to just 1 stitch, and that's our Christmas tree. So then we're going to fasten off. And there you go. Now we have the body of our Christmas tree. So now for the stem, we're going to get our brown yarn, or for the trunk, I mean. We're going to get our brown yarn and we're going to count into the 6th stitch. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to insert our hook into that 6th stitch, and then we're going to attach our brown yarn to that stitch. So I'm just going to tie it in a knot here to make sure that it's secure. Then I'm going to get my crochet hook and place it back into that 6th stitch where we secured the yarn. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And then I'm going to chain 2. And this chain 2 does count as a stitch for our tree trunk. And then we're going to half double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And I like to keep my yarn tail along the stitches here and weave it in as I go. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then do our half double crochet, and then do 2 more of those. Oops. And then 1 more. All right. So now we technically have 4 half double crochets, or 4 stitches. Our chain 2 at the beginning counts as a stitch. Chain 1 and turn, and then work 1 single crochet into each stitch. And then once again, work into the top of that chain 2 for the last one. And then we just fasten off. And there we go, we have our Christmas tree. So now you'll need your yarn needle to start weaving in all of these ends. This one we already kind of wove in, so you could snip it off here, but then you just want to make sure that these are all woven in for our next step. So once your ends are woven in, if you want to make this into an ornament, you could get some scrap yarn or some jute or twine, and then just cut a piece, maybe about like 6 inches long, just depending how long you want the loop to be. And then I like to get my crochet hook, place it through the tip of this tree here. You could also use a yarn needle for this step if you wanted. And then just pull your string through. And then you want to make sure that the ends are even, like this. And then you can just wrap them around each other to tie a knot. And then you can hang this from your Christmas tree. So that's one way you could do it. That's if you want to make an ornament. If you want to make it into a garland, you can make as many Christmas trees as you want and then string them onto the garland, maybe you're going to use twine or jute for it or some scrap yarn. If you're going to make the garland, I would recommend, let me just show you really quick. I would recommend threading whatever you're using for your garland. I would recommend threading it from back to front. And then front to back into the tip of that Christmas tree. That way your tree will lay flat on the garland, if that makes sense. You could also do this for the ornament, but that way, see, if you're hanging this on a garland, it'll be nice and flat. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. The full written pattern is available on Etsy. And if you did like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And Merry Christmas!